Well, thank you all for joining us today for this session for online safety training. In the next 1 hour, we're going to discuss some of the challenges on parenting in the digital age. And it's going to be an interactive session, so it's not really me taking the time to say everything. I would really request if everybody would be up enough to also share some of your experiences. So it's going to be a learning opportunity for all of us. My name is David Wanyiko. I work for Wezesha Accelerator, which is a non-profit organization based in Kisumu. So without taking much of your time, let's dive in and help us understand as parents, guardians, and leaders in the communities on how best to understand the landscape on digital opportunities and also the safety concerns that also comes with it. So, being online is now has become part of life, and as you can see, the statistics indicate that about 48 to 66% of people within sub-Saharan Africa are already online. That's a huge number. And this number is growing every other day. So today it could even be 80% because of the COVID-19 disruption that has led to so many communities and industries shifting online, whether it's in education sector or even in learning, meetings or other engagements have now shifted online. So this number could even be higher now. Um, Now, let's start off. I'd love to ask you one simple question: that what do your children actually do online? What do you believe that your children are actually doing online? Because as you can see from the statistics, about 48 to 65, 66% of the population in sub-Saharan Africa are really online, and these include children. So, what do you actually believe that your children are doing online? You can use the chat section to interact with us. Uh, Tell us where your name and maybe where you're joining us from. So use the chat section, please, to engage us, but also tell us what you actually think your children are doing online. I can see some responses. Now, our children do actually quite a lot online. We have others, gaming, downloading materials, and also connecting with friends and strangers. So, do you really believe, as a parent or guardian, that you have a complete handle on what your children are doing online? Or how do you, as a parent, monitor what they're doing online? Do you have any current mechanisms or ways that you, as a parent or guardian, are, are using to monitor your children online? Please share with me your experiences. Kindly share with me your experiences using the chat section. Now, as you said, children use the internet for various ways, to learn, to play games, to connect with friends or even strangers. And you can see also from these statistics here that about 64% of children within sub-Saharan Africa actually use internet to chat online with their friends. And also 52% use the internet to watch video clips. Could be various types of video clips. We're going to look into that in more details later. About 53% play online games against friends and strangers. So these are just the general statistics, but we're going also to see in more details what actually children do online, and then how best can we promote their safety and the safety of the family in general, while they're using the internet. So what, before we proceed, are your biggest concern as a parent or guardian that you face in keeping your children online? Currently, have an opportunity to interact with me. Have an opportunity to interact with me using the chat section. What, as a parent or guardian, is your biggest concern you face in keeping your children online? We have some views from the parents from our previous engagements, and we have a few comments here from some of the parents and guardian. One is saying that people can pretend to be anyone online. Yeah, that's very true. The people who are actually adults, but when they're interacting with their children online, they could actually pretend to be children, and you may not know the motive. Others could be hackers or phishers who may want to access some privacy information so that they can exploit our children and our family in general. There's another one here, across things they shouldn't stumble across. That's very true, especially when they're not being monitored. We also have another comment from a parent here. We also have a comment from a parent here that parents need to be more involved, engaged, and educated. Yeah, that's according to the parent. We also have another comment here that this is an era of technology. Kids don't play outside anymore. That's very true, because if you realize that most children are now locked into their rooms, playing and doing so much with their gadgets, and most of them are now shying away from actually even socializing, physically with their neighbors and other friends around them. So we also have another comment here. My children are more tech savvy than I am. Yeah, that's most true. Even in our communities, around here, most children are more tech savvy because they spend more time, in these gadgets, and they understand their way around it more than us, the parents. So, but having said that, we must admit that technology is a force of good, you know, and the statistics never lie. You can see from the numbers we have here indicates that 6% rather of our children use the internet for homework and to do their research. That's a good thing. We can also see here that about 45% use it for research work and study opportunities, which is also an amazing thing. And we can also see the numbers here indicate about 33% create and upload their own music. So it means the internet is also promoting creativity. So despite all the challenges, we must all agree that technology is an amazing force of good. Having said all that, let's now set the agenda for today's session. We'll be looking into three key areas today. One is how to set your digital ground rules for the family. Two is how to discover and manage your family-friendly content. And three is how to protect your family's online privacy and security. So we're going to look into those three key areas into more detail. So let's start with the first one, setting the digital ground rules. So let me start by asking this question. What kind of ground rules do you currently set for your family? Kindly use the chat section to actually share with me if you have currently any digital ground rules for your family. We'll really be glad to share that with us today. So as you do that, let's proceed. So these are some of the options we're giving. It could be many, but we just want to highlight these three key digital ground rules that you could perhaps set for your family. One is to establish boundaries around screen time. So that's very important because when you set boundaries around screen time, it gets your enable your children to be focused also on other things, so they can be better time managers, or they can actually, manage their time better rather than spend all their day or all their hours on screen time. So number two here is to create family rules about what to share. This is very important. We're going to look in all these in more details. Also establish family values online. So that's also one of the digital ground rules that you could set for your family. So let's look into these three key options for digital ground rules. You could, if you have any other digital ground rule currently that you have set for your families, kindly feel free to share with us. And also share with us how it's working. Is it effective? Or do you believe that to some extent it's not as effective? What do you think? Or why do you think it's effective or not? So let's look at screen time. So how do you currently approach screen time with your children? You could also feel free to just share that with us. How do you currently approach screen time with your children? So, as parents, sometimes you're so tough on your children. So, but before even you ask that, also ask yourself, are you good with screen time yourself? Are you really good with screen time yourself? So let's look more into screen time and how we can set screen time for children. So it's important to set screen time and to balance screen time with the children, because we have some negative impact with too much of screen time and also positive impact. So let's just share some of the negative impact. It can affect on sleep, when your children, sometimes, at night, instead of sleeping, they could be playing games or chatting with friends. So that could also affect on their sleep. So spending less time with others or outdoor. It's very important also to play outside. So you realize that most time your children would be on their screen, um, and not really paying much attention to and going to play outside with their friends, socializing. So that's also one of the negative impact for too much of screen time. We have other positive impact. When you balance screen time, we can get a positive impact. One of them is it can enable them to complete their homework, in good time, and also it can enable them to connect with their friends and family. So this is when you balance screen time appropriately. How do you, or what gadgets do you currently use? We have a number of gadgets. So I just want to introduce you to one that I'm using and one that I really recommend. So, but there are so many gadgets out there. Maybe you could share. So many applications out there that you can use to monitor and manage screen time for your children. Kindly feel free to share with me. But there's one I can recommend because it's one I'm using. So allow me to introduce you to Family Link. Family Link help parents to manage their children's Google account, Chromebook, or Android devices so that they can set digital ground rules that work for their family. And I know that we are extra protective when it comes to families. So we take care of our youngest users by providing parents with the best support to help their children enjoy quality content that parents can really feel good about. So one of the best applications that as a parent you can use is Family Link. Let's look more into Family Link and how can Family Link help you set screen time or manage devices, Android, Chromebooks for your families, children. So, of course, just like any application, you need to go to Play Store or App Store and search for Family Link. But before you use it, you need to create a Google account for your family, for your child or a member of the family. So if your child is under 13 years, Google will prompt you to link your email address or email account with theirs because you'll be the one now monitoring the account. As a parent or guardian, you need to link your email account with theirs and follow the prompts, the procedures that will follow. So follow the prompt to accept the terms and conditions. The child then will be asked to sign in with their Google account. So it's more simple process to apply. To sign up to Family Link. So to set up Family Link, you will need, of course, as we've said, your Google account that you will link with your child's Google account if the child is below 13 years. So we've mentioned that. I can take you through this procedure. I'll be leaving my contact. I know it's sometimes because of time, you will not be able to go through every detail about Family Link. So I'll be sharing my contact at the end of the session so that you can reach out to me for any guide if should you need more information on how to set up Family Link. So let's look at some of the advantages of using Family Link. So Family Link will help you keep an eye on your kids or children's screen time. So it will help you set daily screen time limits. It will help you set uptime limits. If you don't want your child actually spending a lot more time in other applications, you can actually, set application time limits. It can also help you set a device bedtime, so that if you know your child is supposed to be in bed, sleeping and not playing, with the device by 9, then you can set that from 9 the device should be off, so that the child could have enough time for sleep. So it's not just about also restricting children. So Family Link can also help you grant bonus screen time. So if you feel that in a day or particularly your child has done so well and they deserve a little more or extra time with the screens, so you can also grant screen time bonus to your children. So it's not just about being too much restrictive. It can actually help you appreciate them. So let's proceed. It can help you lock your children's device remotely, especially for the working families. If you are the type of family or people who go to work, both parents are working and you have to leave your children at home. So it can actually also help you unlock your child's device remotely. Um, so you don't have to worry as a parent, of course, when you're away. So you can simply lock your children, or you can also even monitor what they're doing. So whether it's time to play outside, have dinner, or just spend time together, you can remotely lock a device. Whether it's time to, take a break. So these are some of the things that a Family Link can help you do. So it has amazing, amazing features that can help you manage and monitor your children, and also balance on their screen time. So let's have a small talk. How would you talk to your children about screen time? How would you kindly share with me? Kindly share with me. How would you talk to your children about screen time? If perhaps you currently talking to your children about screen time, you can share with us at the chat section. How are you currently talking to your child about screen time, your children? So it could be on various ways. It could be how they can balance their homework and social media, usage. Maybe also, if your child only wants to spend time online, you can talk to them about that. You can also talk to them about keeping a positive attitude towards screen time. So there's a lot more that you can actually have an opportunity to talk to your children about screen time. So, of course, it's important for children to know and understand why finding screen time balancing is a very important thing. So, for that reason, I would like to suggest using these three discussion points for talking about screen time with the children. One is ask them, does technology ever prevent you from being present? That's one thing. Two, how does screen time affect focus and why does it matter? And three, reflect on ways to control screen time. So let's look into this does technology prevent you from being present? Let's look into this in more details. So let's start by looking into sharing. So setting expectations around sharing. So you can teach them about their digital footprint, and together with the children, uh, uh, search online for yourself or a musician that they love and talk about what you find. You may want to check the results in advance. Talk about what others can learn about you from these results, and how you can develop a digital footprint online. So this will make them understand so much about how to avoid sharing too much information. So also help them minimize social comparison. Make sure that your child knows that what friends share online. Uh, make sure that your friends know that what their friends share online is just one part of the whole story, and it's usually the highlights. So remind them that everyone also has boring, sad, or embarrassing moments that they actually don't share. So the third area is you teach them about oversharing and brainstorm solutions for oversharing, such as taking down what was shared or fixing privacy setting. If it happens, help keep things in perspective. And some embarrassing moments, are serious, but others are just good learning moments. So it's good also to teach them about that and about oversharing. Fourthly, establish your family values online around harassment and bullying, and be clear about how you expect them to act online, by treating others as they want to be treated, and saying online only what perhaps they would say face to face. What they would be able to say face to face. You can also talk to them about the meaning behind someone's word and encourage positivity. So talk about a tone of voice and remind your children that it's easy to misinterpret someone's meaning online, and encourage them to assume good intent and talk to friends directly if they are unclear about someone's meaning. Talk to them about how good it feels to send and receive positive messages online. And but doing this, also you need to consider using one of your own apps together to send a positive comment or message. So this is how to set expectations around sharing. So for more of these, you can check in our website, or Google has a good resource here. You can head off to wellbeing.google stroke families. You're going to get more tips and resources about this. So secondly, let's look into family values. The digital age has made it super easy to share information online, as we're able to connect with friends and families through mobile phones, um, through social media. However, with this accessibility comes also consequences, and they need to understand this. So, can you think of any negative consequences to the freedom of expression, um, of sharing online, that um, what are some of the consequences that sharing online, as a children have to go through? So you need to put this into perspective. So let's see how we can establish family values online. So you need to be clear about how you expect them to act online. You need to be clear about how to expect them to act online. Also talk to them about online harassment. Uh, talk to them about online harassment. Also, you need to talk to them about the power of positive messages. We've said that previously. I just like to stress on that also remind them that they're talking to human beings. They're not just talking to profiles or anybody. The people they're communicating with and their fellow friends, even if they're strangers, they're still human beings, and they also have feelings and emotions. So they need to understand that it's important to, also pass a positive message to your friends online. So, do you have any questions so far? What you've about the far we've covered? If you have any question, kindly use the chat section to share with me. I'll be responding to some of them, question, comments, or concern. So I'll gladly, you know, get back to you about it immediately now. So let's go into our second agenda about discovering family-friendly content. So how do you discover family-friendly content as a parent? And as a parent, what kind of content are your children exposed to online? Are you able to monitor that? Kindly share with me if, as a parent or guardian, you actually know what kind of content that your children are exposed to online. We're going to look into some of the dangers, some of the inappropriate content that if you don't actually monitor your children closely, they may be able to be exposed to. And most importantly, going to look into how to discover family-friendly content, even remotely. So share with me that. So again, as we said about Family Link, it's an amazing tool. I can't avoid it as a parent. So it's what I use. Family Link can also help you to identify family-friendly content. So it provides a comprehensive set of features for finding and managing family-friendly content. Apart from setting family screen time, as we've seen, and how to manage your children's devices. So it can help you set content restrictions in Google Play through Family Link. It can also help you blacklist or whitelist specific websites for your children. It can also help you set filters for web browsing, and it can help you turn safe search on and off, in your children's devices. So these are some of the things you can do with Family Link. So if getting parental control coverage installed on each of your family's devices starts to seem so difficult, consider the features available through your broadband provider. You need also to check that. So let's look at some of the examples here that we have and how to set parental controls directly in your browsers. When you want to access internet, you have either to go through these browsers, so you can't avoid them. It's what we use on a daily basis. So let's look at what Chrome has here. So if you're using maybe Google Chrome, which is one of the most popular browsers out there, they have free, it's an application that you can download free from App Store. So there's also a feature that helps you to create different account profiles for supervised users and managers, which also gives you a complete control of how your children use the internet. We also have a browser called Safari, if most of us use it. Safari also has built-in restriction settings that you can activate to block adult content. That would help you, especially if using a shared computer. It's one computer or one gadget that you share with your children. So it's important to also set some of these parental control settings, as access as a parent that you feel they don't have to get exposed to later when they use their gadgets. So Firefox and Internet Explorer also have varying parental controls that you can actually activate. So most of these features can be found at the sites. You can actually, glad to help you on that as well. I'll be sharing our contact at the end of the session. So stay tuned so that you get that. I'll be glad to help. Anything called Safe Search, which helps you to filter explicit content out of the search results. As parents, sometimes we search so much, or in one computer that most people use, you realize that there's different things that we search that may not be appropriate according to our children's age, may not be appropriate for them. So Safe Search will ensure that it filters out those explicit content out of the search results. Perhaps when your child later on, when they have the device, they're not able to be exposed to some of these, adult content or whatever information that you believe that they should not be exposed to. So you need to turn on safe search. So if you go to Google, you go to search settings, and under safe search filters, you check or uncheck the box next to turn on safe search. We can do this later. If you reach out to me, I can help you how to do this should you have any difficulty actually setting it up or activating it. So after the bottom of the page, you have to ensure that you save all your settings. Otherwise, they'll all be, they will never be activated. So you need to actually save them at the end of, at the bottom, you scroll down and then save them. I'll be glad I've said to help. Also YouTube, with YouTube, we search a lot more of content. Could be adult content or any type of content that may not be appropriate for our families, depending on their age. So you need to ensure that you protect your children by heading on to the YouTube settings. So YouTube, you need to activate YouTube restricted mode. There's a YouTube's community guides, which includes on nudity or sexual content, hateful content, harmful or dangerous content, which may violate or may not be appropriate for you. So you need to restrict, you turn on restricted mode so that you may not be able to be exposed to some inappropriate content in YouTube. Because YouTube is a huge platform which has various types of content. So you can actually turn on this, restricted mode on YouTube to help you avoid videos with mature content or any type of content thereof. So how do you turn on this? On your YouTube app, you can navigate to your account and then select settings. Then under restricted mode, you need to turn it on. You need to turn that on. So ensure you need to turn that on. Proceed. YouTube also has YouTube Kids, which is a tool that can help you also provide your children with only approved content. It can also help you set time limits that the children can have or use to access various content that have been approved. It can also help you block or flag mature content. So among other things, so this is actually very appropriate for your children because it has approved content for particular, age set. So as a parent, consider also having YouTube Kids for your children. So we also have an app called Read Along. Read Along is an app that encourages your children to read aloud and makes it an engaging way to learn and read together with your child. So it also have an in-app reading buddy called Dia, which provides positive reinforcement and gives suggestions when they don't read correctly. So this can actually help your children learn a lot. So once the app is downloaded, it can work completely offline, and you don't need internet connection to actually use it. So as a parent, these are some of the applications that you should consider. Read Along, YouTube Kids. We've talked about Safe Search. We've talked about Family Link. So these ones will help you to ensure that your children are exposed to, safe content while they're using the internet. So how does read along work? I'll just go through a few features that are very important. Should you require this application, you can actually reach out to me. I'll really be glad to check you through some of the other features. So it has a buddy called Diva, which is expressive, animated personal tutor to help you every step of the way. So this is like your own personal assistant, which is cool. So it also has a huge library of stories, which is ever-growing library of stories in multiple languages that can be read offline after the download. So you need actually internet connection to just download the application and this library, but then you can access them offline. So it also has awards and rewards. You can earn stars, badges, and rewards while you read and play. This is very important. For every other activities, I feel like we should, to some extent, be appreciated. And read along doesn't disappoint in this area. So it's an application that, as a parent, you should really consider. So it helps you to develop, or it will help your children to develop reading skills. Um, so as a parent, I would really advise you to consider this. So how do you, after all that we've covered Family Link, we've covered Read Along, we've covered Facebook, YouTube Kids, and we've covered Safe Search. So how do you protect your family from negative content? We've seen how you can promote family-friendly content. So if there's maybe other ways you believe you can actually help protect your family from negative content, kindly share that with us so that maybe we can also learn from you as a parent. Because I know, there are various ways. I was just picking up into some of the ways that I use personally, or some of the recommended ways, but kindly feel free to share that with us. So let's look at some of the options here that you can use to protect the family from negative content. One of the ways that you can use to protect your family from negative content is to start a conversation. Talk to your child about what they might find on the internet. They need to actually know about what they will most likely find on the internet, and help them understand that sometimes they may come across things that they would really not prefer to see, that might upset them. So encourage them to come and talk to you about it. If they find anything that they feel it's upsetting or offending online, please encourage them to always report that to you as a parent so that you can know how to help them. Think before you click. With internet, there's so many enticing buttons that may lure children to click on. So they need actually to think before they click. So it's advisable that you help your child understand that clicking on a pop-up or links in unsolicited emails that may offer things that are too good to be true, uh, and at the end may end up accessing content that they didn't intend to see. So teach them to ignore this pop-up, and if anything, they should ask you before they click any enticing buttons. Supervise if you can. We've talked about Family Link, which can help you also monitor remotely, what your children are doing online. So supervise if you can what your children are doing, and be in the same room sometimes as your child when they are online. So those are some of the ways that can help you keep an eye out for what kind of content they are accessing. I don't. As a parent, sometimes we're so busy when you come home from work. We have a lot more as well to do at home, but just make time as a parent also to be in the same room with your child and just see what kind of content they're accessing online. So that's all about finding family friendly content. If you have any question around that, kindly feel free to share with me so that we may all handle it together. So let's move into our third agenda: how to protect your family security and privacy. Internet is a huge offers huge opportunities, but also it has a few concerns that we as parents we need to look out for. So what is the most popular social media platform for kids? There's so many social media platform for kids, but what is the most popular one? Kindly share with me. Kindly share with me. Yeah, I can see TikTok. Uh, We have a number of them: Facebook, Snapchat, a lot more applications that our children love to use. So, the increase of, according to UNICEF, the increase use of mobile devices and greater access to the broadband internet has made children more accessible than ever through unprotected social media profiles and online games. This is according to UNICEF. So as they use these applications, we must know that to a great extent they are exposed and very exposed. And not only them, but also their families. So let's look into how you can protect your family security. You can actually promote your family security. I'm going to look into three areas. One is stranger danger, two is identity fraud, and three is cyberbullying. So let's start with stranger danger, which is also known as online grooming. So stranger danger is also known as online grooming, and as grooming is a word used to describe people's befriending children in order to take advantage of them for sexual purposes. So it's easy to pretend to be someone else on the internet. So children can sometimes end up having conversations with people whose real identities may not be known. So you need to learn how to look out for the stranger danger. So how, as a parent or guardian, can you look out for stranger danger? One is you need to be what to look out for. So if your child is being secretive about who they are talking to online, you know, that's one of the signs. So if you have a child who, as a stranger, somebody that they even don't know much about, but they're very secretive even to share, know that they're talking to a stranger. So you need to look out for that. That's one of the signs. Two is when all of a sudden your child starts using some sexual language that you wouldn't really expect them to know. So that's also one of the signs, because it could be someone else they're talking to that could actually be using these words themselves, or could be teaching them or telling them, about some of the things that they should not be able to know at their age. So this is one of the signs. Last but not least is switching screens when you come near the computer. Sometimes that's also one of the signs when you maybe they were using their phone. When you move close to them, they tend to hide it. So as a parent, you need to be very careful because that's one sign that they could be doing something that's not appropriate. So those are some of the things you need to look out for. Um, so how, as a parent, do you speak to your child about online grooming? As you've said before, you need to start a conversation. Because grooming can be a tricky subject to talk about, understand. And a good way is to say you've read a story about this happening, and ask them if they know of their friends who've experienced a similar thing. So you could try as a parent to be clever, by telling them or starting off a story or something that maybe happened, and try to reach out to them if they're actually familiar with some of this, or if it's something they're going through. So you need to actually start a conversation as early as possible. So uh, you need to start by talking about the risk. You need to start about by talking about the risk. Um, they need to know, your child needs to know the risk that is involved in online grooming or stranger danger, because you never know the intentions of the people they're talking to. So talk about the risk and make sure your child knows that not everyone online is who they say they are. So encourage them to come and talk to you if they are not sure about the identity of someone online. It's very important. Secondly, you need to agree on the rules. We've talked about setting digital ground rules. So you need to agree on the rules. Discuss with your family about where you stand on any particular issue. Maybe it could be sharing information with strangers online, or keeping secrets from parents, and boundaries to individual privacy. Could be about sharing pictures of their bodies or houses or friends. So these are some of the digital ground rules you should actually be setting. We talked about how to set digital ground rules. It um, could be about meeting with friends they have met online in an offline space. This also could be a danger, because you don't know the intention. They just meet this person online and they want to take the conversation forward to now meeting offline, in unspecified places. So they need to actually look out into this. So another way is to staying engaged as a parent. So from time to time, you need to review their social media together. You need really, by starting conversation, they'll just open up, and then they'll allow you to also review the social media profiles together. It's could be a tough thing, but then after an open and respectful conversation, I think your child would be open enough to also share and be able to review with you their social media profiles together. So you or a member of the family might want to be their friend online. It's important, as parents, we should not be shy from, being or befriending our children online, because that will help us also understand the kind of content they post and maybe the kind of friends they have. So consider being their friend online as well. So let's look into another area on privacy and security. So how do you help identify a fraud, privacy and identity fraud? So it's important to note that just like adults, children may be at risk of having their online identity stolen and misused. And it can be difficult to maintain a child's privacy, as they may not understand sometimes what information is safe to share online, or what difficult or what default privacy settings are on the sites and devices that they're using. We talked about parental control settings. We actually looked into how you can set parental control settings when we're talking about family-friendly content. And these are some of the things you need to consider. So uh, you need to encourage them that for every device they use, or as a parent, you need to ensure that for every device or browser they use, it should have the parental control on, so that their privacy or private information, it may not be noticed for many years, and could in some cases lead to a child being the victim blackmail, grooming, or bullying. So, it's not like us adults where we're able to, identify some signs. With children, they may not be able to know immediately if the identity has been stolen. But then, how do you, as a parent, know that your child's identity has been stolen? Let's look into various ways that you, as a parent, can be able to tell if your child's identity has been stolen, because you may start, to suspect your child's identity has been stolen. If some of these things happen, you get a bill for something they haven't ordered. So you just ensure that maybe your credit card, has a bill for something they haven't ordered. Or maybe you start to get emails from an organization they don't even recognize. Or maybe you receive letters regarding government benefits or tax payment. These are some of the signs or things to look out for. And they let you know that, make you or let you tell if your child's identity has been stolen. So, how should you protect your child's identity theft? We'll be looking into four ways. One is to check their online privacy settings. We talked about that. Two is to check their device settings. We also talked about that. Three is to find out what is already out there. And four is to take action and go incognito. So by going incognito, you don't actually share private information. So this will help minimize the exposure. So enable privacy settings across all social media platforms, because as we said, we can't avoid using some of these platforms, social media platforms. So, but we can actually ensure that we use them safely, and that by using them, we don't expose our private information, or we actually not in danger, in any danger. So Facebook, YouTube, Snapchat, TikTok, all these applications has privacy settings. So you need to ensure that all these privacy settings across social media platforms are activated. YouTube is, we've talked about YouTube and how to enable privacy settings. So let me just walk you through that. You need to go to YouTube, open the app, and click your profile picture to open the menu. Then on your home tab, select settings, change your name and profile settings. And of course, I'll be sharing our contact at the end of this, and I'll be really glad to assist you should you require that. So another way to ensure that you to promote the privacy and security of your child is also to set strong passwords. So talk to your children about setting strong passwords. Help because this will help them to create a strong, unique password to protect their online accounts. So you can follow these tips for good password. You should make sure that your password is unique, and also make that your password is a bit longer, not 3 or 4 words, should be at least 8 characters. So, but should be memorable. As much as it's longer, it should be memorable. Your password should include letters, numbers, and symbols. This combination will make it very difficult for hackers to actually identify. So avoid personal information and common words. Don't use names or names of common places or names of your relative, that, or maybe. So avoid those kind of personal information and common words when building a stronger password. So let's move on and look into cyberbullying, which is also another area that's very common. That's affecting almost every family. So here is a statistic, and indicates that about 47 rather, percent of children interviewed reported experiencing some form of digital harassment. And this is according to a research here by an institution from UK, United Kingdom. So it's really important that children who are bullied online know what simple steps they can take to help to cope and how to ask for support. And let's look at some do's and don'ts to give you some tips as a parents or guardians that you can help support our children should they be going through this cyberbullying. So before we go into tips and resources about how to support our children, what do you think cyberbullying is? Let's understand the word before we look into ways that we can use to avoid it. So how is it different to other forms of bullying? So let's look into that, how bullying has changed. We have various types of bullying. We have face-to-face bullying and cyberbullying that we actually want to look into. So let's look at the differences here. So face-to-face bullying are in smaller audience with close quarters. This is maybe in schools or in some social gatherings. And cyberbullying, on the other hand, reach a vast audience in a matter of seconds. So this is online and people keep sharing, and as they share, it reach more audience. So face-to-face bullying, on the other hand, is limited to those within view. It's something in a closed door. But on the other hand, cyberbullying, it's hurtful comments and images being shared multiple times. So it could spread so fast and go viral. Bullying, the bully in this case, in a face-to-face scenario, can be identified. But in online circumstances, it offers a degree of anonymity to the perpetrator. So you may not even know who is the perpetrator here, because they could be using, they could be hiding their identity, or not having their real identity online. They could be hiding under some protective gear that you may not be able to identify. So these are some of the differences between face-to-face bullying and cyberbullying. Maybe before we dig deep into cyberbullying, we may try and identify with some of these words: harassment, outing, trolling, bans, roasting, griefing. So you will hear various different words used in the context of cyberbullying. So it helps to know what each of these means. So can you explain to me what each of these terms mean? You can go through them one by one, and we can build a discussion around ways of approaching each and how can we tell when it's occurring. So let's look into these words one by one. We can look into them together. Harassment is targeting an individual or group with persistent and offensive messages, which will develop into cyber talking. That's harassment. It's targeting an individual or group with persistent or offensive and offensive messages, which could develop into cyber talking. Outing is publicly sharing personal, private, embarrassing information, photos or videos about someone online. So this is somebody with maybe an intent to just embarrass you online by sharing some of your embarrassing photos or nude photos or any type of photos or videos, online with an intention only to embarrass you. Trolling is deliberately posting provocative and insulting messages about sensitive subjects or inflicting racism or misogyny on an individual. So that's trolling. Bans, on the other hand, it's not really serious about it. The kids could be cruel, but get away with it. So somebody could be really cruel online and get away with it. Roasting is ganging up on an individual online and sending offensive abuse until the victim is seen to be cracked. So this is just somebody also just want to get under your skin, if I may use that word. Griefing, on the other hand, is abusing and angering people through online gaming. So we need really to identify these words so that we may know and identify them when they occur. So what are some of the things we need to look out for? as parents. You may start to subject your child, you may start to suspect that your child is being bullied online if one of these things may happen. If they stop using their electronic devices suddenly or unexpectedly. These are one of the signs that you could use to tell if your child is going through a cyberbullying or is being bullied online. So if they really love using their device, but suddenly they stop using it, could be a good indicator. Um, Another indicator is when your child is seemingly nervous or jumpy when using their device or becoming obsessive, sorry, about being constantly online. So this is also one of the indicator. So also, if they're reluctant to go to school or take part in unusual social activities, you could then ask yourself why. It could be a good indicator. Maybe somebody is bullying them. So let's proceed and look at some of the do's and don'ts. How to talk to your child about cyberbullying. And look at what we may encourage and what we may not encourage. So the do's and don'ts. So find out why as a parent, and do not get upset. That's the first thing. As a parent, you just need to find out why. Why is this happening? What's the reason behind it? But don't be upset about it. Talk it through as a parent, because that's, I think, our responsibility, and don't ignore it. Teach by example, but don't condone it. You need to teach as a parent by example and don't condone it. Learn from it, because everything is a learning moment. Every opportunity is a learning a moment, but don't take away their devices. As children, they're also, just like us adults, able to learn. So if they know what may expose them to danger, they are more likely not to repeat it. So don't take away their devices. So what are some of the ways you would bring up bullying with your children? What are some of the ways you can bring up bullying with your children? Please feel free to chip in. Kindly using the chat section, you can actually engage me using the chat section. We've covered our three agendas. One was um, setting digital ground rules. Two was finding family-friendly content, and three was how to promote privacy and security of our families. And if you look into the three key agendas, feel free to chip in, comment, question, or suggestion on these three key areas, even more that we've talked about. I'll be really glad to actually come back to you on that. So this is time for any question, as I also use the moment to share a few tips and resources on some of the various ways that we as parents or guardians can use to promote the safety of our children while they're using the internet. So we have there's a website here. You can head off to safety.google. You'll get more resources there. You can use that to explore the Google Safety Center and look into more tips and resources on how you can promote the safety of your children online. And we also have the Be Internet, help your children learn how to be smart, alert, strong, kind, and brave. So to access this, you need to go to beinternetawesome.google.com. I'll be glad to share this link at the end of this. You can reach out to me via our email that I'm going to share shortly. Google also has a resource on digital well-being for family guide. You can also head to wellbeing.google/families/determine. So I'll be glad also to share this resource should you need it. Um, so let's now look at some of the tips. Basically, the things that we've talked about, we can just now just remind ourselves about them. So tips for engaging with your child, talk early and talk often because they are children. You need to continue the conversation, and this also will help them open up to us about what they do online and also in offline spaces. So choose the right time to talk to your child. Open up and share too as a parent. Conversation is only complete when it's a two-way conversation and not a one-way conversation. So to create a safe space or a safe environment when sharing information or having a conversation with our children. Um, we've talked about Family Link. We've talked about YouTube for Kids. We've talked about Google Digital Wellbeing Guide. These are some of the resources that can actually help you promote the safety and privacy of your families. Um, now, what are some of the key takeaways from this session today? I'm really glad you were able to join us. So please use the chat section to just share some of the key takeaways from this session. I'll be glad to read your comments and also respond to some of your feedback. To learn more, this program is running in Nigeria, it's running in Kenya and South Africa. For those who are in Kenya, you can use the Child Line Kenya, that's 116, to ask for more information on the safety and security of your children here locally in Kenya. You can also go to safety.google to learn more about the resources that are available to promote the safety of your children. Also, the Communication Authority also have a program called Be the Cop that can help you protect and promote the safety of your children online. So you can head off to ca.go.ke/child online protection to learn more about the program by the Communication Authority of Kenya. I'm really glad that you took the time to engage us and to participate in this program. Thank you so much. If there's no any other questions that I can respond to, but also I'm going to share my contact. Let me just do it now. Feel free later on to reach out to us. I'll be really glad to respond to some of your comments, messages, suggestions, and feedback, or any other questions. So our email address is onlinesafety@rosacea.net. So I've actually shared that. So it's there on the chat section. Feel free to reach out to us anytime. We'll be really glad to respond. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm glad you made time for this particular session. I love you all, but I have to leave now. Thank you.